The first thing you need to know is this. Prince Harry, a man who once walked away from the royal family and the palace life that defined him, made a move that no one expected. A move that shook the walls of Frogmore Cottage, the serene Windsor residence he once shared with Meghan Markle. You might think Harry has left the palace drama behind, that he's finally free to live life on his own terms, far away from royal protocols, scrutiny, and gossip. But the truth is far more complicated. And it all begins with a house that symbolizes more than walls, rooms, and gardens. Frogmore Cottage isn't just a property. It's a stage, a character, and, in this story, a battleground for one of the most tense, emotional, and revealing moments in recent royal history. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Have you ever wondered what it's like to fight for a home that's both yours and not yours at the same time? Imagine memories of laughter, private moments, and family celebrations intertwined with expectations, public attention, and a set of rules that are centuries old. Now imagine you're Prince Harry, caught between wanting to reclaim something familiar and facing a family member whose authority, and yes, subtle ruthlessness, cannot be underestimated. That family member is Princess Anne, a figure whose reputation for decisiveness and no-nonsense discipline has always preceded her. And when she says no, even a prince has to stop, think, and recalibrate. The story begins quietly, or so it seemed. Behind closed doors at Frogmore Cottage, advisors whispered, lawyers drafted letters, and phone calls were made that would never see the light of public scrutiny. To the outside world, Harry's departure from royal duties seemed permanent, a clean break from a life that had brought both privilege and pressure. But inside, the story was very different. The cottage, with its immaculate gardens and stately interiors, represented more than just a home. It represented family, history, and a connection Harry perhaps underestimated once he left. And in a world where public perception matters as much as private feelings, claiming it back became a mission of both personal significance and symbolic weight. It started with a quiet conversation, though quiet, in this context, is relative. Royal protocol ensures that even the simplest words are strategic. A casual inquiry could be interpreted as a demand, a subtle hint could be misconstrued as a confrontation. Harry knew this, and yet, something inside him. The mix of nostalgia, a sense of injustice, and perhaps a desire to reclaim part of the life he once had, drove him to make his move. The details are murky. There are stories of letters sent, phone calls placed at odd hours, and intermediaries caught in the middle. But what's clear is that this wasn't just about property. It was about legacy, about identity, and about the invisible lines that divide family loyalty from personal desire. What makes this story so compelling is the response. Enter Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, often described as the hardest-working royal, a woman whose discipline is matched only by her loyalty to tradition and family protocol. While Harry might have expected resistance, or perhaps mild negotiation, Anne's response was a firm, unambiguous barrier. She shut down his attempt before it could gain momentum. No compromise, no room for negotiation. And in the world of royals, where public image and private influence constantly collide, her response sent ripples through the family. How did Harry take it? That's where the tension explodes, because this wasn't just a polite refusal. It was a statement, a reminder that some rules, even for princes, cannot be bent. The stakes were high, and everyone involved understood them. For Harry, it wasn't just about reclaiming a home. It was about reclaiming agency, about proving that even after stepping away from the monarchy, he could assert his needs, desires, and rights. For Anne, it was about preserving tradition, family hierarchy, and the integrity of decisions that impact not just one generation, but the institution itself. And hovering above all of this was the public, hungry for every leak, whisper, and scandalous detail, ready to dissect every decision, motive, and outcome. You might be thinking, why would this matter to the average person? It's just a house, after all. But consider this. Houses are more than buildings. They are repositories of memories, battlegrounds of disputes, and symbols of identity. In Harry's case, Frogmore Cottage represented a bridge between his past and present, between the man he was as a royal and the man he is now as a husband, father, and public figure. attempting to reclaim it wasn't just a practical decision. It was a deeply personal statement. And Anne's refusal wasn't just a no. It was a declaration of the enduring power of protocol, duty, and tradition in a world where personal desire often clashes with institutional expectation. What happened next is where the drama intensifies. Calls were made. Advisors strategized. Emotions ran high. And in this high-stakes environment, even the smallest slip could have enormous consequences. Harry's plans, meticulously thought out, suddenly faced a challenge he had not anticipated. Anne's reputation for decisive action is legendary. She doesn't mince words. She doesn't negotiate endlessly. When she makes a decision, it stands. And for a man like Harry, whose life has been a whirlwind of public scrutiny, private tension, and media storms, facing Anne's resolve was both a surprise and a shock. But let's pause here and consider something. How often do we see a family clash play out on such a public stage? The layers of complexity are staggering. There's personal history, the shadow of Meghan Markle, media attention, and the unspoken rules of monarchy, all converging on one single issue. Who gets Frogmore Cottage, and under what terms? It's a story that's part human drama, part institutional power struggle, and part spectacle that no screenwriter could invent with enough realism to satisfy public curiosity. And yet, the story is far from over. Behind Anne's firm no, there are whispers of further conflict, of conversations that were overheard, of advisors caught between loyalty to a prince and duty to the institution. There are hints of strategic maneuvers, subtle gestures of defiance, and moments where Harry's emotions nearly overtook his careful planning. It's a tale of tension, emotion, and strategy, one where every move is magnified, and every response carries consequences far beyond the immediate moment. So, what does this all mean for the royal family, for Harry, and for anyone watching this unfold? It means that even when a prince steps away from the world he was born into, the world does not step away from him. Family bonds, traditions, and expectations remain. And when a home like Frogmore Cottage becomes the focal point, all of these elements collide in a way that is dramatic, revealing, and, at times, heartbreaking. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Have you ever walked into a house and felt that it wasn't just a place, but a presence? Frogmore Cottage is like that. Nestled quietly on the Windsor estate, surrounded by gardens that have seen centuries of royal history, it's a property that carries weight far beyond its square footage. To the outside world, it may look like a charming residence, a peaceful escape from the chaos of palace life. But to those who know its walls, Frogmore Cottage is a symbol. A marker of privilege, of family legacy, and, most importantly in this story, of unspoken power. So why does a house matter so much to a prince who has sworn to leave royal life behind? Think about it. Some homes are just homes. Some carry memory, emotion, and identity. Frogmore Cottage is all of that and more. When Harry and Meghan moved in, it became more than a building. It was a stage for a new chapter. The rooms witnessed laughter, quiet family moments, and private escapes from the endless scrutiny of the press. It was a sanctuary. And that sanctuary, in the eyes of Harry, was his right, a part of his life he could reclaim even as other doors in the royal world closed. But the history of Frogmore Cottage is far more layered than most people realize. Originally built in the early 19th century, it was never meant to be an ordinary residence. Over the decades, it has housed royals who left marks not just in architecture, but in stories whispered down through generations. Each window, each hallway, carries echoes of celebrations, secrets, and heartbreaks. And the garden, oh, the garden, is more than ornamental. It's a witness to both public ceremonies and private family moments. It's where royals have strolled quietly, hidden from cameras, sharing the kind of conversation most of the world will never know exists. For Harry, the emotional attachment was immediate. Every room told a story. Every corner reminded him of life before the storm of public attention intensified, before interviews and tabloid rumors became a constant backdrop. To Harry, reclaiming Frogmore Cottage wasn't just about space. It was about regaining a piece of his past, a connection to a version of life where family wasn't fractured and love felt uncomplicated. And yet, as with many things in royal life, desire and reality rarely align. Imagine standing in a room where your child first learned to crawl, where your spouse laughed until tears ran down their face, where moments of joy and tension intertwined seamlessly. That is the essence of Frogmore Cottage for Harry. Now imagine being told, decades of experience and protocol behind them, that this place is not yours to claim, or at least, not in the way you imagine. That's where Aaron steps in, and that's where the clash begins. But let's step back for a moment. Why Frogmore Cottage? Why now? Harry didn't wake up one day and decide, on a whim, that he wanted to reclaim a house. There were layers of frustration building quietly. First, there's the matter of symbolism. Leaving the royal family was not a neutral act. It was a seismic shift. In the public eye, he was both liberated and criticized, a man trying to forge independence while the world refused to let go. Reclaiming Frogmore Cottage was, in part, a statement, a claim that even after leaving, some things still belonged to him. Then there is the matter of timing. Consider what was happening in Harry's world at that moment. Meghan was carving out her own public identity. The couple was balancing media scrutiny with family obligations, and private life felt constantly under siege. The cottage was supposed to be a safe haven, yet it became a symbol of tension, a tangible representation of what Harry could control versus what the palace still controlled. It was a chess piece, a sanctuary, and a memory all rolled into one. And yet, as history and insiders reveal, Frogmore Cottage has always been more than the sum of its bricks and beams. The residence exists within a network of royal rules and unspoken hierarchies. Every room has a history of who may enter and who may not. Every action, every request, is filtered through decades, sometimes centuries, of tradition. To claim Frogmore Cottage is to step into a web of expectations, where personal desire meets institutional legacy. And for someone like Harry, who has spent much of his adult life trying to redefine his place within and outside that institution, the stakes are personal, political, and emotional all at once. The irony isn't lost on those who know the story. Harry, a man who has spent years distancing himself from royal constraints, suddenly finds himself drawn back in by the pull of a home. The cottage becomes a paradox. He left to escape control, yet he returns seeking control in a different form. And as you might imagine, no move of this kind goes unnoticed. The palace has eyes everywhere, and the moment Harry expressed his desire, whispers began circulating. Advisors, staff, and even casual aides quickly realized that this was no ordinary request. It was a challenge. And in royal culture, challenges are never taken lightly. And, ever the strategic observer, recognized the significance immediately. While others might have tried to negotiate, she understood that allowing even a hint of precedent could ripple outward, affecting property claims, public perception, and family unity. Her response was swift, precise, and, in true and fashion, unambiguous. Harry may have believed he was reclaiming a home, and believed she was preserving the order of the house itself. But the cottage is more than a stage for adult disputes. It's a place of human vulnerability. Imagine walking into the drawing room and seeing the marks of family dinners, childhood laughter, whispered secrets, and quiet celebrations. That's what Harry faced, and that's what made the rejection sting more sharply. For a man who has always carried the weight of public life alongside private expectations, being told no in such a context was both personal and symbolic. It was a reminder that some doors, even ones once open, may remain closed. In these walls, history meets modernity. Frogmore Cottage stands as a witness to centuries of royal choices, decisions that shaped not just the lives of its occupants but the perception of monarchy itself. And now, with Harry attempting to step back into a space layered with memory and meaning, the cottage becomes a battleground. Every hallway, every staircase, every sunlit window becomes a symbol of conflict, a site where private longing and public scrutiny collide. But here's the twist. While many imagine the drama would center solely on Harry versus, and the story is far more complex. There are intermediaries, advisors, and palace staff whose loyalties, intentions, and actions subtly shape the unfolding events. Every word spoken, every gesture made, carries weight. The cottage is more than a home. It's a nexus where emotion, tradition, and strategy intersect. And as Harry pushes and responds, The tension escalates in ways that no outsider could predict. So where does this leave us?